Good evening, just past 9 o'clock, and that means it's time for your road trip on Southbound. I usually start these episodes with something witty, but I think with the tragic news of Rondale Mill, I think that would be inappropriate. Another loss of an excellent young man who achieved so much in the NFL at the age of 25. But I think more meaningful and you would say a bigger contribution he made was his generous charity work. I've just got the notes up here. He donated quietly. So in front of no cameras, in front of no press, donated quietly Thanksgiving meals to more than 100 families. He supported his community, giving back to his high schools, his former schools that supported him as a child. And he also did a lot of volunteer work. And that's what I was reading. His mother would like the stuff to live on. And just for anyone who ever finds herself in a situation, just ring someone, speak to someone. If you're watching this show, you can see the banner at the bottom, which has the international crisis text line available. So if you are struggling in a situation for your mental health, please text HOME, HOME, to 741 741. The lines run 24/7 in Canada, the UK, the USA, of course, and Ireland. But also, please, if you are in immediate help or need immediate help or with someone in crisis, ring your National Emergency Services 999 911. And for Australia, 000, others, just ring someone. And even if you just want a chat and, you just want to whinge about the Colts being terrible and bottling it, or when I have to talk to these two boys about Arsenal bottling it, I managed to get them into the episode after we bottled the quadruple, and I need some support. Please reach out, speak to us. Our DMs are open, and like I say, it's such a shame, and it's not a shame because we've lost an athlete. It's a shame because we've lost someone who gave so much back to the community, and it's just a shame anyway. But with that being said, I'll leave that to the side because I think, we can maybe talk about this in the off season. We can get some people on and talk about community work and support we can give to people in the NFL community, in the fan community. And then we'll get on with tonight's show. So join me as usual, Ed, Nathan, Ed, Man United, Everton. It can't be that good if you come on tonight's show, mate.
Yeah. I'll keep half an eye out, but I was saying to you off air, mate, once they figured out our one tactic of give it to Illiman and Die, it's been pretty much one-way traffic. So, yeah, I'm the world's worst football fan, I'll admit.
Nathan, how are you?
Yeah, all good, yeah. I think, just well done for the way you positioned the intro, man. It's news that's really, shocked, I think, the NFL world, isn't it? And I think that was the right way to open the show. So, not easy, but, anybody who's been fans of ours for a while will hopefully know that, we advocate for this stuff. And, even if you feel the need to message one of us, like, just do it. And we can, we can try to be there. But yeah, just wanted to say that. I think it's really important we say that. And yeah, let's move it on.
Yeah. So moving on, as you can see by my name tag, 199 days. And as I told Ed, that is 199 days till the first Thursday night football game of the 2026 season, because the 2025 season is officially in the rearview mirror and we are driving away from it. So tonight that gives us an opportunity. Now the dust has settled, we've all calmed down a bit. We've relaxed from the Super Bowl and enjoying the Patriots get a walloping in front of their annoying and bandwagon fans. They can all go back to wearing the Chiefs jerseys next. So I've asked the lads to come up with their biggest surprises of the year. Good, bad, reasons, up, down. It was a roller coaster. And so we just go into it. And I've got a couple, but we'll do it in sort of a snake order. And I'll go first because I suppose my first and biggest surprise of the year is one close to home, and that's how many Indianapolis Colts fans were in Berlin, Germany. It was, I didn't expect that many people. I don't think Berlin expected that many people. Obviously, Nathan couldn't concur on this, but so in the actual arena and the stadium, I'm sure people who've been to London games could say similar, but it was a fantastic atmosphere. They had loads going on. They had the marching bands to speak of. They had people going around on stilts and dance. It was like a carnival atmosphere, essentially, and full of jerseys from, I'm sure we said we played, Nathan, you said your mates playing Jersey Bingo, and you saw like Florida Gator jerseys and stuff like that. Just an awesome surprise to, I started playing this weird version of rugby on my Xbox about 10, 15 years ago, not knowing what it was, to see how much the NFL community internationally has grown over the past couple of years has been a fantastic and welcome surprise for me. So that's my first one, just like I say, and the Colts locked down Berlin, and they did a fantastic job of it. And maybe not 2026, I would imagine, but 2027, there could be another game there. So let's hopefully, hopefully the NFL and the NFL UK can build on this partnership, and we can start building a massive presence, and it can become a mainstream sport over here. Ed, a big surprise for you, good, bad?
Biggest surprise. Colts related. The Colts won a game week 1. I didn't realise that the season started anything other than 0-1. It was getting to the point, I think it was 2013, I think was the last time the Colts won. I'm happy to be fact checked on that, but I think it was something ridiculous like that. And again, I know we've talked about it loads, but if we go back to those nice long summer evenings in August where we were all shocked that Daniel Jones was going to be our QB1, and we couldn't believe that Shane Steichen had put his balls in Daniel Jones's court. And we haven't won a game in God knows how long, and nobody really knew how badly the Dolphins were going to start. Kind of had an idea that, they maybe weren't going to be the side they had been, but I think it's fair to say the Dolphins were probably favourites going into that game. A lot riding on it, and the Colts never win week 1, and we did. That's my biggest surprise. No, I'm joking. Not my biggest surprise, but that's definitely one of them. The Colts winning week 1.
It's nice to not start in a hole for once. Nathan, a big surprise from you?
I think Colts related. I've written down Josh Downs. In terms of I think I know I was one of probably a million people on the internet predicting huge things from Josh this year when Daniel won the starting job, and it's like quite humbling looking at his stats. I mean, he played 16 games. He had 58 receptions off 88 targets, 566 yards, and 4 touchdowns. We were predicting pre-season that he'd have 100 catches for over 1,000 yards. And yeah, I would say definitely that. Just how different the Colts kind of receiving room was this year, and how ultimately carried it was by Alec Pierce and Tyler Warren. Outside of the Colts, I'll start off with a negative surprise. I would definitely say the Minnesota Vikings. I was lucky enough to be at the Dublin game. It was really fun to watch, but just the kind of complete collapse of that team this year, and the real kind of trials and tribulations of JJ McCarthy. Fascinating prospect in the league. Fascinating to think what they're going to do with him this off season as well. But you know, I think we all thought that JJ was going to get, you know, really supported and kind of boosted by Kevin O'Connell's coaching, but it just hasn't happened. So I'll definitely start with that. The Vikings, I thought, would have been playoffs, but they just were not.
Mm-hmm. Ed, a surprise from outside the Colts around the league?
Yeah, it depends how far we're allowed to go back. But if we're including the draft as part of the season, can I go back to last April when we watched Shedeur Sanders slide down draft boards? I think that was a huge surprise. Everybody had him going first round. At some point, people had him going number one overall, or certainly.
I think his dad had him going number one overall. Like my dad still thinks I can play for Arsenal.
No, but I think the general consensus was that he would have gone maybe late first round at the latest, possibly early second round. To see him slide all the way to the fifth round, for whatever the reason was, and you know, I'm sure you could do several shows over what people think the reasons were. I don't want to go into it, but I think that was a massive surprise. Whichever way you look at it, it was the story of the off season, wasn't it, for a long time? And then he kind of landed at the Browns after they'd taken another quarterback sort of 2 rounds ahead of him, which didn't make a huge amount of sense. But yeah, I'm going to say off-field, non-Colts related, Shedeur Sanders sinking down the draft was definitely a surprise for me.
Yeah, and this is why we need to be careful with, you know, how you build up players and how quickly you tear them down. Because I don't think Shedeur is an amazing quarterback. I don't think he's a bad quarterback by any means. You know, he's made the league. He's obviously extremely talented to make the league. I know we live in this generation of you're either the worst and you're a flop, or you have to be the GOAT. There's no, you know, there doesn't seem to be an in-between anymore. I think the one place he shouldn't have gone was the Browns. And I'm not saying that from a Browns perspective. I'm saying that from his perspective. I think that was a bad call. Obviously, it's the draft, so unless you're Eli Manning, you don't say who you want to go to. But, you know, hopefully he can kick on and have a semi-successful career, just as long as it's not against us. Yeah. I won't mind. You know, so the sort of surprise for me, non-Colts related, I mean, there's two. There's one that is less wild, and there's one that I'm going to say more of a team. I think it was something like before the start of the season, Kansas City, Cincinnati, I have to get my teams right now. Baltimore didn't make the playoffs, did they?
That's right.
And one other team, I can't remember the team, but there was like 4 powerhouse teams. The chances of all 4 of them, or the odds of all 4 of them not making the playoffs, was 0.06%.
Yeah.
And none of them made the playoffs, which shows you how football is just football. Imagine having a pound on that accumulator. So them sort of like, I suppose, I think we talked about this with Hannah, friend of the show, Hannah, Seattle fan, and we was talking about how the AFC don't have a powerhouse anymore. And I think that's been a big surprise for me this year. You know, I was expecting the Bills to step up, the Ravens to step up, even so much the Chargers, you know, maybe they could finally take that step, but just, it was like nobody wanted the number 1 playoff position. And then I suppose this is, I'm just a bit of a sucker for it, but a sort of a pleasant surprise for Colts fans, I would say, and just genuine fans and players is like, at the start of the season, I didn't think we had a QB. I don't think we had a QB1. And the surprise of Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold is an example. You just showing that it doesn't have to be the first team you go to doesn't have to be the right team to succeed. I think is extremely important for the neutrality of the sport and making everyone, what's the word? Showing that it's open to anyone. You can still go out and get it, especially with Darnold. 2 14-win seasons, 2 different teams, and winning the Super Bowl. But yeah, I mean, so they were my surprises. Has anyone got any more? Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I'd definitely say, another maybe Colts-related surprise was the kind of fall off of Jonathan Taylor this year. I'm sorry if I beat you to that one, Ed. But, we were looking at a kind of historical, generational type stat line. And, I haven't believed that we've had an MVP since Andrew Luck. But there was periods this year where I fully believed he might do it. And that's rare for a running back, and just, it's the fall off. And it's more than on Taylor. It was a coaching change. He clearly went to the pass over the run. And I would 100% say that completely caught probably all of us off guard. And yeah, I don't know what other way I want to look at that. I mean, I guess we'll go through it in summer, like what we think Taylor's going to do next year, or whether he'll even be a Colt next year. Who knows? But yeah, interesting. Ed?
No, I think the Jonathan Taylor one's a great point. You go from half of the season to potential MVP to not even making the shortlist for Offensive Player of the Year. It's like you say, man. That was a surprise, unfortunately, but such is the life of a Colts fan. I had a couple more surprises for me. I think Carolina Panthers winning the NFC South. I don't think many people saw them to win their division. I know they won it with a losing record, but they still won it. I had nobody other than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning that division. I don't know about anybody else.
Probably the whole world, Ed.
Yeah. So I think, fair play again on your point there, Harrison, about Sam Darnold. I know Bryce Young's still with the team that drafted him, but it looked for a while like they were out on him, and he's kind of come back, and he led them to the playoffs. So I thought that was, like I say, a surprising turn of events for a team that was selling tickets for 70 cents a couple of years ago to being in the playoffs. So there's hope for us yet. And then a couple of other, I'd say a couple of other surprises, but a surprise that had a couple of things in it is how I want to position this one, I suppose, is at the end of the season, the sheer amount of head coaching positions that became available. We knew there'd be a few, there always are, but I can't be the only person who was surprised to see McDermott leave Buffalo. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see John Harbaugh leaving Baltimore. Personally, I think that was a bit of a shock. The others, maybe, I'm sure I'm missing a few. The others you could probably say were there or there, probably not as surprising, but it went from sort of people saying this isn't a great head coaching cycle to all of a sudden there being some absolute, like, genuine potential Hall of Fame coaches available.
Yep.
In the blink of an eye. And I think that was a bit of a surprise because it looked like it was going to be a bit of a sort of slow head coaching cycle. And then it just all of a sudden just completely took off. So I don't know if that's negative or positive because I don't really like the thought of people losing their jobs, but you could argue that it's opportunities for other people. That's the corporate in me coming up.
Gotta get a buzzword in, mate.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, hit those KPIs, guys. But I think that was a surprise. Not so much. There's always going to be head coaching churn at the end of a season, especially when teams don't hit maybe pre-season targets. Again, I don't know if I'm just going for how many corporate words I can get into one podcast here. But without doubt, some of those coaching jobs that came up, I don't think at the start of the year there'd have been many people thinking that Harbaugh would be out of Baltimore, McDermott out of Buffalo. Zach Taylor being the last man standing in the AFC North. All the other teams changed. So yeah, I think that was a bit of a surprise. Don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, and I think you've missed the most surprising coaching change, mate. You didn't mention it, but the New York Jets selecting Frank Reich as their offensive coordinator.
Oh, yeah.
It's genuinely insane to me, because they've gone air raid attack with their players they've bought in, and then brought in the most power inside zone run coach of all time. So that guarantees one thing, that Jacoby Brissett will be making his way to New York Jets to bring him in from a 4th-and-1, and somehow lose 3 yards.
Has he already played for the New York Jets? Has Jacoby Brissett played for the Jets?
Oh, I'm not sure. I know he has been on a bit of a carousel, hasn't he? But yeah. I'm sure it was Patriots, Colts. We got
it from the Patriots, didn't we?
Back to Patriots.
Then
to
49ers or something?
Yeah. Then to Cleveland. Then to Arizona.
That's what we got.
Yeah, I'm sure maybe, I don't know, actually. Probably worth a Google.
Yeah.
Probably worth a Google.
He's just one of those quarterbacks. If you said he had, I'd believe you. If you said he hadn't, I'd believe you. It's just he seems to have played everywhere.
One that I think we have to mention is the mega trade of Micah Parsons mid-year.
Yeah, well, let's go into, because there's been a few big blockbuster trades this year. So, yeah, kick us off with Parsons, Nate.
Just almost unheard of, when a player of that skill set gets moved, and obviously the cost of it as well, which, ultimately became very little with, I'm sure, who we'll move on to shortly. But, Micah, obviously the generational edge rusher of the Dallas Cowboys, makes the journey to Lambeau Field in what was a league-shaking trade, and of course, was on a trajectory to kind of really help them take the step in the playoffs, which, let's be honest, under LaFleur, they really don't seem to be able to do. However, he is securing another contract extension, so I'm sure Matt doesn't care about that. But yeah, when Micah gets injured, it's just a huge blow for that team. Almost felt like when Mahomes got injured for the Chiefs at the end of the year, or when Burrow went down for the Bengals. It's just like he was making all the plays for Green Bay at that point in the year. But yeah, just a really fascinating day when that trade was announced, because still, I don't know how Jerry let him leave the building.
Jerry Jones doesn't care about Cowboys fans, mate. Come on. Cares about money. I suppose Nathan was trying to beautifully segue us into the other blockbuster trade, which was the Indianapolis Colts sending 2 first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell to recoup Sauce Gardner. Did we get a pick back, or was it just Sauce? Just Sauce, wasn't it? Just Sauce, yeah. Couldn't remember if we got a Chris Ballard 5th rounder or something. It seemed great for the 2 games he was available, and then a non-contact injury ended his and our season's hopes. But still feels like we've got a good player there.
Oh yeah, 100%. I still back the trade to this day. I know that it might be a case of doubling down, but let's go back to where we were at that point. Ballard was damned if he did, damned if he didn't, and we've spoken about the reasons for that. He's backed himself into a corner.
Yeah.
But look, are the Colts ever going to be in a position to draft a player like Sauce Gardner, pick him 15th every year? No. The only opportunity they're going to have to get a player that good is by going out and trading for one. the draft is ultimately, has been and always will be a lottery. Yes, those first round picks could turn into something spectacular, but equally they might not. Sauce Gardner, we've got a potential perennial all-pro cornerback for the next, 7 or 8 years?
Yep.
It's still a trade that I would do. Yes, it's frustrating because of the way the season went, and it became an easy sort of lightning rod to hit the Colts with, because it looked like, they went all in and they thought they had Daniel Jones and it all fell apart, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay, it did, but sometimes you've got to take a swing. And ultimately, the way you've got to look at it is, are the Colts a better team with Sauce Gardner in it? Yes, they are. Therefore, the trade is still worth doing. The bigger issue for me is not so much giving up the first-round picks, because I'd love to do a show over the off-season about the last sort of go back over the last sort of 9 years and look at the first-round picks that we've drafted under Chris Ballard. It's a 50% hit rate at best, at absolute best.
Yeah.
So losing the first-round picks doesn't really bother me that much. It annoys me a bit because obviously this time of year we all like playing around with mock drafts and seeing who we're going to get and blah, blah, blah. We're not going to do any of that, but it doesn't annoy me that much. I'm more worried about the fact that I think we've got 5 picks overall. Because you can still get value in later rounds. Sauce Gardner's worth 2 first-round picks. Nothing's going to change my mind about that. The Colts are a better team with having him on there. Yes, he got injured. He'll come back next year. He makes our secondary infinitely better. He takes half the field away, straight away. So it's a trade I would do again in a heartbeat. So, yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think.
I think you spot on with Sauce, and I think a lot of us are preparing, we've had guests on who've said it, we've kind of hinted at it, that, if it doesn't work out next year, they could blow it all up anyway. And Sauce is someone who would have trade value. I don't think we're going to get that back, but, we might get a third or, a third and a fifth the year after or something like that, for a player of that caliber. And back to the drafting point, Ed, I think you make a great point, because this is from memory. You people will fact check me, I'm sure. Quitty P was a 15th overall selection. Just hasn't worked out. One of the most bang average edge rush in the league. Obviously, you could go recent to Latu, 15th overall. Still kind of waiting for him to really kick on. And then that's just 2 examples in recent times of, picking in that area. And interestingly, if you look at mock drafts right now, the Jets are being mocked to take Makai Lemon, who's meant to be like this insane wide receiver prospect. I'm sure our college football expert friend of the show can tell us if we combo again. But yeah, and I mean, even look at his draft this year after Tyler Warren, and obviously future greatest of all time, Wally got injured, Woolrig got injured. What other draft pick made a contribution this year?
Jalen Travis.
Yes, correct.
I think Jalen Travis, and it's I forgot the big fella's name. JTT.
Well, he was a healthy scratch for the first half of the season.
So I think he's going to be good, but I don't think he was a good pick in the second round, if that makes sense. So that's what I wanted to get out of there.
And obviously we had some corner help, didn't we, at rookie, due to all the injuries. Forgive me, I cannot remember the name. It's been a long Monday. But I think Ed is right. Where the Colts want to go next year, which, let's be honest, is championship game or bust, is it really a big deal that we moved out first? I don't think it is. I really don't think it is.
No.
Just out of interest, I just had a little look. So you hit on a couple of them there, Nathan. Since 2021, then our first round picks, you got Quitty Pay at 21. Yep. 22, we traded it away, obviously. Yeah. 23, Anthony Richardson at number 4. Laiatu Latu at 15, and then Tyler Warren last year. So out of the last 5 years, 4 of those players, Tyler Warren, you would say is a hit.
Yeah.
Latu, the jury's out.
Maybe.
Richardson is looking like a bust, and Quitty Pay will be out this summer.
Hmm.
Less than 50%.
Yeah. So let's talk about. We'll end this off with who we think like player surprises have been, and a bit of a. This is frivolous. This next one, I don't like doing it, but the most overhyped player of the year. And I'm going to say this, and I know it's going to come back to bite me next year, but I think Cam Ward's been ridiculously overhyped this year.
Okay.
I think this. I will stand on this hill now that he is no better than Anthony Richardson. I'll say this. Look at this amazing play. Should have been picked off. Again. This title is frivolous, and do I think he's an amazing talent and a great athlete to make the NFL? Yes. Do I think the Titans are fucking dumpster fire of a franchise? That's not going to help him. Yes. Do I think there's some sensational rookie quarterback that's just been unlucky? No. And I think this is a problem we're seeing with quarterbacks coming through from the college game. They don't develop anymore because the way college football operates now, in my eyes, is it's about making as much money as possible to survive. Again, I think he can go on to be something, but I don't think this year he's been some sensational rookie quarterback that everyone's making out to be. And that's just my opinion. And when the Titans beat us on the first game of the season next year and he goes for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, you can come back and clip this. So again, I don't think he's a bad player. We need to stop doing this. He's the GOAT. He's amazing. He's the best. He's the best quarterback rookie since Andrew Luck. It doesn't work like that. It can't work like that. And I think, obviously, media says it because they have to generate money through clicks, and they know, and I know if that gets clicked up, someone's going to click it. Someone's going to comment in it saying, "You're wrong, Colts fan, blah blah blah." But that's not my point. My point is, I'm not expecting him to be sensational year one. I wouldn't expect any quarterback to be sensational year one, and that's yeah. That's that. I'll stop because I feel myself going in circles. Ed, your turn to take the fire.
Yeah, I'm loath to criticise a quarterback in our own division for the fear of it coming back and biting me on the arse like you just did. But I mean, CJ Stroud's playoff performance leaves a lot to be desired. I don't think he's overhyped, but I think he's definitely not as good as he thinks he is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He's not the one I want to criticise. I just wanted to throw that out there because it's always fun to throw shade at a Texans player. Outstanding athlete, though, by the way. For me, I think the one with the most hype, and this is going to sound... Because we're talking about players that are hyped, that no one can control the hype that they come in with. But there's 2 from the draft that really kind of stick in my mind. And I'm sorry, Nathan, if you were thinking of one of them, but I'm going to go with another player in our division, Travis Hunter. Came in with this massive, the Jags traded up to get him. I was Operation Keep him out of the AFC South during the draft because, he looked like such an explosive threat, didn't he, in college? Two-way player, genuinely thought he could make that next step. Injuries hindered him a little bit, but I think the Jags still aren't 100% sure what they've got. I think it's fair to say I don't think he's quite lived up to his billing as of yet. Like you just said, Harrison, when he tears Sauce Gardner a new one next year when we go to Jacksonville and lose our annual game down there, I'll eat my humble pie. But I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying maybe he hasn't quite lived up to the hype yet, and his injury possibly didn't help. So I will go with him. There is another one, but I'll let Nathan go first for fear of taking away.
I've got a few. So you go You go with your other, and then
Well,
I'll go.
The other one was for the similar reasons, but Ashton Genty, I don't think quite hit the billing that was maybe expected of him. Now, again, maybe a little bit unfair because the Raiders were not very good. The polite way of putting it. They had a lot of issues. But I just remember, I think it was his first play when he went for negative yards or something, and I remember the way social media can be is like sort of welcome to the NFL. You know, you're not playing against sort of grad students anymore. He did all right. I don't know what his stats were in the end. He did all right, but again, the way he was sort of billed coming into the NFL, I thought we were getting sort of Barry Sanders 2.0, and maybe not quite yet. Again, rookie seasons, not writing these players off by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying that, mate, they've still got something to prove going into year 2.
I have a few. I'll fly through these in the interest of ending the show one time. First one is Luther Burden III in the Chicago Bears. Ed, you might remember that faithful night a few months ago when we took a trip around the NFC, and I was like fascinated. Well, we were fascinated by how he was going to feed them all, and was Burden going to really come on the show? I mean, I think he has. You could probably argue that he'll be the wide receiver 2 there, because the rumor mill is that DJ Moore's going to get traded. Really? They'll run with obviously Romo Dunze and Burden. What an amazing rookie season. He looks like a true wide receiver. Absolutely brilliant rookie season. Maybe 2 shocks were the fall off of Brian Thomas Jr. at Jacksonville. When the news, or the only bit of news around him was him shying away from contact and dropping everything. Not the sophomore year that I think he wanted or many predicted, especially as a BTJ owner in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Abdul Carter, I don't think I've heard his name all year. Obviously, it's a very crowded edge rushing room, and we're not Giant fans, but barely heard him make news this year. Last one, I'd probably say just the predictability that Josh Allen was not going to make it to the Super Bowl. And Robbie will kill me for that, but will Josh ever get an easier chance at making it? Probably not. Next year the AFC is going to be loaded again. You've got to think that a healthy Chargers will knock on the door. Obviously Baltimore back in the mix, Cincinnati back in the mix, Kansas City back in the mix. Jeremiah Love is actually in range of Kansas City's pick, which is terrifying. But yeah, I'd probably go on all night, so you may want to come back to me on next week's show, but they're definitely 4 that have surprised me.
Right. I mean, we've been going about 40 minutes now, so I do think it's a good time to end, because I'm just going to end up waffling about irrelevant stuff. Ed, Nathan, have you got anything else before we go?
No, obviously it's the combine this week, so I'm sure next week we can chat a little bit about that. Obviously the big day's Saturday with the receivers and the quarterbacks, but I'm actually really looking forward to the linebacker drills this year. I'll be tuned in on day 1 because I mean that's what we're all hoping for in round 2, right?
Yeah. Ed?
I'm looking forward to the combine, although yes, we're hoping for linebacker, Nathan, but we all know we're getting a trade back, so
Oh dear. We've been Southbound. Thanks for watching. Reiterate the stuff I said at the top of the show. I won't go through it again. But I reiterate that, and we are always open for a chat. Trust me. You just might get more luggage than you wanted when we reply with how the Colts have bottled it and how Shane Steichen is annoying. But anyway, that was our sort of like just look back on the season, all the crazy stuff, what happened. It was a roller coaster, amazing highs, and terrible lows for Colts fans. And I am the person of the opinion that you should always celebrate too much and always be down too much when you lose. None of this staying in the middle stuff. You're either high or you're low. Sack it. But Nathan and Ed, I'm surprised. The biggest surprises of the year, and not a single one of us mentioned Philip Rivers returning. See,